Hello, everybody. Welcome into what will be our final recorded pre-draft show, at least that I'm doing. I don't know if anyone else is doing one, but so far it's been me. I hope that I actually have audio working this time. We did test it this time, rip to the long lost linebackers episode, but today I've got Zeon with me, and we are going to sort of debut some on the fly draft lines for a handful of players and a couple positions in the first round to kind of get us in the mindset of predicting what's going to happen. And we'll have it posted as well in a questions thing. See if you guys want to take your stab at guessing which one it'll end up being. But first off, Ian, how you doing today?
Doing well, ready to get the draft day tomorrow or whenever exactly it is. My time zone's a little screwed up here, but
Yeah, it'll be tomorrow from when this is released, so that's a good shot regardless.
okay.
But yeah, your time zone, yeah, it's gonna be got a lot more people out and about than usual, so it's gonna be a bit more of an adventure for at least some of our
For,
core
for me, it's gonna
contributors.
be for when we're recording this. For me, it's gonna be tomorrow night, like 1 a.m. something like
Nice,
that. So
nice. Um, but yeah, good fun always. We always had a few people um, weirder time zones that are hard to account for, but this year it's a couple people who are usually stateside, so it's a bit different. But obviously, gonna be quite the day still. Uh, I'm hoping to have my car stuff figured out so I don't have to leave early on Saturday because that would suck.
I'll have
But
that.
yep, you'll have that indeed. But yeah, so we've got 8 players here, and we are going to do this in essentially a draft. So we will each, so I'll give Zion the first pick. You can pick a name, say the line, and then the other person, in this case me, will pick the over under. Maybe have a little bit of discussion about it, but that's the idea here. So to get us started, who is going to be your first overall pick
All
and the
right.
guy that you are taking at number 3 overall, guaranteed?
This is guaranteed not to be the pick, but let's start off. I'm gonna say Genty with a 6.5. So if you're looking, you got the top six: Cleveland, Jacksonville, Seattle, Green Bay, New England, Bucks. So it's whether or not he gets through those six.
Yeah, for
You take it
me,
away.
I kind of think if he doesn't go top 6, he's not going to go top 10 based off the teams there. Maybe Dallas does it, but I haven't gotten the impression they want to do running back. Hard to get a read sometimes on them. I think I got to take the under here.
By under, you mean higher or lower? Because I hate how they do the
Oh yeah, yeah, it's always tough.
over
Yeah,
under.
so pick 6 or better. So under in the.
You can just go not.
So I think he's going to be a
Okay.
top 5 or 6 pick. But
Gotcha.
he's the running backs are always tough to mock for. We had the same problem with Bijan. Just like there's a stigma around it, but I think for the Madden, like if this is the Packers who traded down, Patriots or Bucks, any of these teams could see that running back impact being a huge boost for them. Um, Patriots have invested a little bit more than the other two in the running back position this season, so they are the least likely of them to do it. But I could see either of the three doing it. Um, Push comes to shove. I just don't see
If
Washington
you do
or
get it,
Cleveland doing it. So then we not to have 10 pick, and that just feels wrong.
well, Washington, you have Saquon. Cleveland has Chubb. Raiders have CMC. So if he does kind of get
Gibbs in
through
New
that initial,
Orleans. Arizona would be a team eyeing him, I would say, if he falls past 6.
my one little hesitation with him, I think you know what you're getting. I don't quite have him as high as I thought of Bijan, but um, this running back class is so deep. So I think that, that can't help him. Um, so we'll see.
Yeah, I understand that for sure. It's an exceptionally deep class, historically so. Um, so I can understand falling, but I do have him pretty high for me. But I had Bijan pretty high as well, so I thought Bijan went a
All
little
right.
lower than I would
Let's,
have liked. For my pick, I think that Jalen Walker is going to be a top half of the first round pick. I'm going to put it at 16 and a half.
yeah, I think he'll go above. I think I think the real life betting lines and stuff on him are so high right now. There's rumor of him going as high as 4 in real life. I just think there's enough real life steam to carry him here. Um, I do like him quite a bit, so for me, he would certainly be in that top half, and it only takes one other team to see it that way. So I think it's pretty easy. I would have it at like 12 and a half or something like that if I was betting
Yeah,
all
I
in.
was debating this line a little bit. I wanted to pick him because he's most fun, but I just feel like the sentiment in the draft community of him is so much lower, and that might pay off here more so than the real life rumors because he may fall in that range of picks that's not super juiced in a way that's like you got to take this guy regardless. Um, but that's
I
more of
haven't
a
seen
reading the
much low on
sentiment,
him.
which is hard because a lot of people are going to just smokescreen it. Um, so that's the toughest part with my ranking on him. I think if I was going purely off of what I thought the sentiment was around here, I would put him at like 25. Doesn't really feel like anybody who's
Uh,
speaking up
I,
is
I
high
don't
on
think
him.
that
But
I
that
don't
does,
think that's the case.
yeah. I would be shocked if he is
I could
available in the
see him
20s.
going.
But
I could see him going in the top 10.
yeah, I could see it too. But just kind of weird, what position sort of thing might scare enough teams away on the top premium picks to bump them down in the second half.
I think in real life, there's a very good chance he goes by 8, that Carolina pick,
Yeah, I
and
think
then
I think
I
that would
think there's a
be a very
possibility of New
realistic
England.
landing spot for him. 8 to Carolina, I've seen that one a lot. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. So all it takes is one of these teams in the middle to be like, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get a top 10 pick out of this, especially 12, 13. But I think if I would have put it a little higher, maybe I would have put it in front of Atlanta. Honestly, maybe I do want to kind of put it. Let's do 13 and a half. We'll call the Atlanta line. We'll take out the second Saints pick
Yeah,
and the Colts
I
pick.
must still go. I still think he's going to go above that.
Yeah, I'm doing 13 and a
But
half. I still think that there's a risk just because of the draft community's opinion of him that he's going to be a later pick, but kind of giving a little bit of value here because I think that the if I were anticipating a betting odds, I think that there would be a lot of draft oriented people who would try to put an under on it or an over on it. I mean,
all right, and let's go to Ted McMillan. I'm going with 7.5.
7.5. All right. Oh man, can I? I really don't see him. Oh, man, this is the same sort of situation as Jalen. Um, but I think that there's a little bit more split opinion in the draft stuff that I've seen publicly. But man, I love Ted so much. It's gonna be so sad to see him not as the top 7 pick. I'm gonna take the under. That's more my heart, I guess, than what I've heard. But I feel like again, we're talking about Tampa or Washington. Washington, I think, could be in real play here. You know,
I'll give him some pretty good. It'd be a good compliment to McLaurin.
yeah,
They'd have a McBride, Saquon, uh, McLaurin, and McMillan. That'd be pretty nasty.
yeah. And then they're just trying to hunt for their. I guess they signed Fields, right? No, they didn't sign Fields. They signed Jameis. Is that who they signed? They signed somebody.
Jameis.
Yep. So
Yep.
they're gonna go for air it out. I could see them being a team, but if they don't, like yeah, I don't know above that. Like I could see New England potentially doing it. Could see Green Bay potentially doing it, but
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like
For,
that's 100% where it is. But I'm gonna take it. But that's a pretty good line, I'd say.
for me personally, I don't have any reservations about him as a prospect. My only thing that gives me a little bit of pause is like these Daniel Jeremiah's and stuff that seemingly are, kind of lower on him, and I'm not really sure where that's coming from. So I don't know. I mean, I'm taking him over like Golden all day. So um, I think people will see it more like that here, and I do think he could go like in real life. Not Cleveland, Carolina at 8. Another spot I could see him going in the top 10. So I mean, they need a receiver. They need a lot on defense, but they also need a receiver. So um, I'm not really sure what is with the kind of the lack of hype on him based off how good of a season he's had the last 2 years, and even before the college football season, he had the hype coming in. So
Yeah, I mean he was circled as wide receiver one to start the season, so have that to carry him for sure. I'm struggling with who to pick for my next one. Honestly, I don't know. It's I have a lot of mixed opinions of that. I'm gonna go with Trey Harris here, and I'm just trying to decide
What's the
where I want
line?
where is trying to decide where I want to put him exactly. That's what I'm debating on is which specific pick do I think I want to put it on. I like him a lot, but where do I think he's gonna go? Because he put up such, I mean, he's such good numbers in man, but it's tough to trust this Ole Miss offense. Think he's gonna be. I think he might be that early second round wide receiver that goes. So I'm gonna put it at like 36 and a half, right there on the hook of the second round. Just the first couple picks, I think he goes
Oh
right
no,
there.
man. Okay, so I said I didn't do any prep, but I did kind of write down some numbers, and I had 36 and a half on him.
Hell yeah.
I think well, we're on the same page. Consensus big board I'm down at like 60. I think it's a little out of date, but yeah, I kind of see him as that guy that either goes late first or he's that name that kind of sticks out for a lot of teams at the top of round two. You do get to some of those teams that could definitely use a receiver. There's not a lot of X's in the draft. Green Bay, New England. New England's got those two picks, 36 and 39. So Tampa got rid of Evans. They're down there at 41. But yeah, I do think he'll go fairly high here, if not also high in real life.
I went New England as the hook here because I don't think that they would potentially let him fall to 39, but they could try it just because Arizona would need wide receiver so bad. It kind of again depends on what they do with their first rounders too, but that's where I thought the decision point would come down to. Because honestly, Arizona could draft two really high, and it would not be a surprise because of how
They did,
much the help they
they
need.
did get Ridley signed. I think they might have got another receiver. I know they signed Ridley. I was
They've drafted a lot of
looking at this.
them in recent years too, so they might play it out with a couple of other guys and only draft one, but that might not even be a first rounder. So I think it becomes an interesting decision point looking at the board right now. That's if he doesn't even go
Okay.
earlier. But
Should we move on to the next guy?
yep, let's go ahead. Yeah,
Look, I'm less confident in some of these other names that we talked about, but I'm going to say I'll do Shador, and I'm going to set the line at 5.5. Basically, is it going to be New England or not? Is kind of what I was thinking.
and I'm just gonna think not, but it's. I was debating doing his line also, but I just had no idea where the fuck I wanted to set it. Cause like, you could kind of set it a bit spaced out potentially, cause it just doesn't seem like Tampa's gonna be the team to do it, trading out of a quarterback already once. But we saw last year a team trade out of a quarterback and then still draft one and have him be awesome. So maybe they're playing that Jaden Daniels angle on it. So it's tough, but I think I would take the over there. He's not gonna be a top five pick, but it's just like real life. It's a real wild card.
Well, I think the real life theme is actually being very revealing lately, where it seems like it's already out that he's not going high.
Yeah,
He's
I mean,
taking these visits with the teams further down the board.
yeah. I mean, the
Um,
Steelers visit and stuff. Like, yeah, he definitely balked on like the idea that he's only gonna visit these top teams or whatever.
and even the Giants early on in the offseason when they pursued Stafford and stuff, I thought even something like that is pretty telling that, you know, the door wasn't their plan A, B, or C. Stafford, Rogers, trade up for Cam Ward, and then now all of those options failed, and they're still saying, well, we're still not going to take them. We're going to, sounds like they're going to lead Joe Abdul. So I think he's going to fall on draft day. I think he's going to fall fairly hard. But here, I think there's a little more incentive to take him with just the options we have, especially now we have this rookie sit option, assuming that's still in play, where kind of get automatic progression um, as like a fail safe if nothing else route. Um, but we'll see. I do think he's going to fall in real life, though. I do not. I never saw him in that 2-3 combo, but just looking at Twitter and stuff, there are so many these Browns and these Giants media members and fan bases that are they think they have to take the quarterback, and it does not make a lot of sense to me. I don't know what kind of hype they fell for or whatever, but to me, he's just not up there like that.
Yeah,
And I
that's a
don't
tough
even feel
debate.
like I
Yeah.
hate on him, but I think I'm relatively reasonable on him. But I just the thought of passing on a Hunter for him to me is I've watched a lot of Colorado. It's obvious which of those guys is the guy. So all right, why don't you get to our next one here?
Well, I'll keep the
That
quarterback train rolling here,
might
which
have been a little too high, but
yeah,
we'll see. New England, they're you never know about them. So
I think they're the team that anybody would eye, even if you went 6 spots lower, right? If you went 10.5 or whatever, like 11.5, like it's probably still eyeing that New England pick. So realistically, I don't know, it's tough. Um, but I'm gonna go Milrow. We'll keep the quarterback train rolling here. I don't. Again, he's a tough one to get gauge on. But his consensus ranking is 44. I don't know if I feel like that's gonna happen, but I'm gonna set it at. I'm gonna say a top. Let's go with the top 50 pick. So we're 50 and a half. I don't necessarily think 50 is the pivot point for it, but move up and stuff. Options in the second. I think it'll eventually kind of come down to if the Bears want to take him. If the Bears do take him, with some of the things that I've heard, at least on them being on Levis, is that like a long-term option behind Stafford, who may or may not have a lot of years left. Um, so I'm just gonna say, does he end up as a top 50 pick here? 50 and a half.
I definitely think he will. I think he's gonna be that guy that once he goes, and he's gonna go a little earlier than expected. Once he goes, there's gonna be three different teams being like, dang it, basically, and disappointed. I think a lot of teams are secretly kind of eyeing him, and he is such a good runner. Where I mean, he might. I do kind of put him in that Lamar type of territory just as a runner. I don't think he's as good as Lamar was as a passer, but he doesn't have the same running style as Lamar. But in terms of just total high end QB running talent, it's about as good as it gets. Um, so, and I mean, he does have a big arm. He has a quick release. He's probably going to go relatively high in real life. He's got invited to the draft. So I think someone's going to take a chance on him. So for top 50, I think for me, that's pretty easy to say yes.
Yeah, it was tough just because again we're thinking that one of these teams is or a move is thinking he's the guy and we're gonna play it slow. Um, which I mean, if you turn in the card for a first round pick, I'm not gonna spin my head around and be like, what? So it's not gonna shock me entirely. Just not sure.
There were some games where you watch the game and you say, well, this is going to kill his draft stock. It's over, right?
Hmm.
But I remember I thought the exact same thing about Anthony Richardson, where there were some games where you're like, oh, he can't come out after this year, and then he still goes, whatever fourth overall or whatever it was. So I'm not saying he's going to go anything like that, but I do think somebody will bet on the tools. I just the running ability is no matter what, you can do a package with him, or you can get him X amount of snaps per game, short yardage, red zone, whatever it is. I think he'll provide some team value, and I do think it's kind of like that Hurts type of thought process where the Eagles took Hurts um, without necessarily a plan to start him, but they just said let's just take him, stash him, and see what happens. And obviously, it worked out quite well for Philly
I do think Hertz was right in
in
that
real life.
50 pick range. So that's the same kind of thinking I'm go with Milrow. Is it's the Hertz developmental athlete sort of pick. Somebody's gonna do here. So that may have been in the 40s. Not 100% sure, but it
I
was
think it
in
was, yeah,
It was close enough in that
by
range.
round two.
That's what I was thinking. Was 50s was he was a top 50 pick, I believe, but I thought he was closer to 50. But that was sort of the inspiration behind the line. Um, anyway, you are up with your last player selection here.
I'm gonna go with just because I'm scared to set the line on the other guy. I'm gonna go with Michael Williams. I'm gonna say getting cold feet now. I'm gonna say 24 and a half.
Yeah, he was. I mean, both of these guys. I mean, we both have put him off because we're scared of these lines at least a little bit. Um, but I like that line. I like because I like the option for Tampa, Chicago, and LA being teams that take him, but not as a lock necessarily. I like that. That's a pretty solid line. I I'm, I feel like the hype is around him a little bit as the athleticism, traits, Georgia guy. I think I'm going to take that under. I think that one of those three teams will take him and bet on the tools who do need the edge help as well. So yeah, I like that line. I take it under. Now Baron, our last guy. Everybody is all over the place on this guy. It feels like right now, and it feels like he's somewhat not going in that top range. But I think we got that Daniel Jeremiah first mock. He's top 10. Pretty sure he's top 10 in that one, and he's been top 10 in those. So the league seems to like him. There's a lot of people really high on him, and kind of like his fit with the Raiders or Saints as well potentially. If I'm remembering these teams right. So kind of want to put it at like a 12 and a half. Yeah, let's do 12 and a half. Hopefully we don't have another. Yeah, we don't have another 12 and a half. So 12 and a half it is.
Let's say he falls out of that 12 spot, but I mean I could see him anywhere, kind of in that late top 10 to. I don't think he's going to get into the 20s.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting
Um,
into 20s. I would expect like Miami to take him, who could use a versatile piece at 17. Maybe it's a floor. It's hard to tell, but that's kind of
we've
what I was
seen
thinking.
corners come out quicker here, if I remember. I mean, I know for sure the corners last year fell in real life, and they all, Quinion went top 10. Kool-Aid went like 21 or something like
But
that. I
that
want,
was a
or
that was
maybe
a
that, maybe
correction
that
to
was
a couple
random.
years though, because we had Stingley go like 8 or 9. Witherspoon went in the teens as well. So like I think we were sort of correcting on that one last year. So maybe we still will. We will be kind of scared off
Well,
by missing out on the top. Sauce also
no,
went lower.
did Sauce go all the way down at 8? Because I want to
Yeah.
say there's a chance that Sauce, Gonzo, and Quinion all went 8th overall here. And if that's the case, you might have to
Yeah.
take him here if you're Dallas. That's a
Honestly,
pretty good track record.
honestly, where did Sertan go? Like what pick number?
I don't
'Cause
think I was here for that one.
that was my first year. That'd be interesting if he was also close to that. But I feel like he had the hype, but did he go that high here? He might have been a teens pick. Because Dallas would have missed the playoffs the year before we started, I believe. So we're in that range. But where exactly? Let's look up where their 2021 pick was.
But Dallas had like 11, right? Or 12. Parsons was like 12th overall or
But
something,
they
right?
traded down for that in
He
real
might have been at
life.
like 10 then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Barron kind of has interesting like tape. I mean, I haven't watched a ton of him, but I think he kind of sit really deep back and
Yeah, they took him at 10.
very good playmaker. But I think he's kind of a somewhat difficult eval. When I was just watching Texas games, I mean, you'd be like, all right, this guy's a name to write down because he kept, giving interceptions and making plays. But then you watch how he's using it. It's a little, it seems like he's just kind of sitting back there staring at the QB with a huge cushion at all times. So I don't think that's exactly what people are looking for, prototypical, corner tape. But um, I, I do think he has a wide range, so we'll see.
Yeah, that's
But
I
yeah, I
think
don't see him getting into the 20.
yeah, that's the tough part. And I tried to just split the difference on where I thought his range was with that pick. So yeah, that's it. And now we got to go to the positions. Did you have one that you wanted to start with to
I
set
think
the
we
line?
could kind of just both brainstorm this out if you
Yeah,
wanted. But for receivers, I was coming up with like 5.5, and I'm counting Hunter.
yeah. So counting Hunter,
You got Hunter and Tet are kind of the lock.
yeah, I
And
definitely
then after
think
that,
that's. I
you
think
got
that
that next
5 is
tier.
a good number of floor.
I think we're gonna get that 5, but are you gonna get 6 or more?
Yeah, because I
If we're
mean,
sending it up,
yeah, we're looking at Hunter, Tet, Ibuka, Burden, and then it's one of Higgins and Golden. Golden has all the hype. I bet Golden's in, and Burden's probably on the hinge. And then does Higgins go, or does who's the other guy that's close in the
we were
consensus
talking
now?
about Trey Harris before possibly going, but
Trey Harris. Yep, Trey
yeah,
Harris as well. Yep. Yeah, that's probably
Noel
the
might be up
guys.
there.
Noel's
Where do
got
they have him?
Noel's
Oh,
got some
they
late
have
hype.
him below Harris. Yeah.
So I
So
mean, listen, I could see
I
it.
had 5.5.
5.5. I think that's pretty solid. Because if you went 4.5, like I think you're just hitting the over.
I would
Because
take the
you're
5. I
only
would take the 5.
because you're only gonna have to
Yes.
think
Go
like
ahead.
one of the guys who's like a 60-70% chance is going. See, I think it's gotta be five
Okay.
and a half.
So let's go with that for that, and then for the O line,
Oh, I dropped the O line. We're just doing DBs.
we're dropping the O line. DBs. Oh, let's hear what you think on this one then.
So
So I
DBs,
already kind of told you about this one earlier.
yeah, I think we talked about this. I think you're pretty much right. Well, I mean, we talked about Barron already. Hunter. Oh, so here we're gonna count Hunter for both. This is a question.
Yeah. I mean, I
Let's
think so.
let's count for both. Yeah, he's both. So yeah, I think that the Starks, Hunter, Barron, Johnson are all top 15 hype. Stark's lower, but I think he's seen pretty much universally as a first round safety. And then I think that there's just too many options to not be two more potentially. But I feel only
Yeah.
better about one more. So 5.5 again kind of feels like the line.
Yeah. No, I think that'll probably hit again. I'd probably take the over on that just because people usually it's the O line that flip here, and people want to draft their receivers and their corners. Um,
Yeah.
so
Because,
I
yeah, I
think
mean,
we
you just
probably
have
hit the
so
over
many
on both of
guys that
those.
have the athleticism or just awesome traits. So it's like Revel or Revel, Amos. Morrison has the
Yeah.
hip stuff, and I don't think we'll know on Morrison's testing until after we draft the first 2 rounds. He's
Right.
going to
I
test in
think I
between.
think he has a pro day. I think he's got a pro day coming up or something. So everybody, make sure you do not take Morrison until this first weekend's over, and then we'll find out what happens. And
And then it's like going to be a supplemental draft. You have to trade your future pick to get the top pick in the fourth round to draft him.
uh,
But
no,
yeah,
I don't think the concern with him though is like speed or any type of athletic testing. It's just we're obviously in the dark with the injury, so that's what always makes it tough for us. We don't get to do the
yeah.
we don't know about these medicals. We just kind of have to read the height and the tea leaves and everything.
And like if you see the testing, you at least get to see a move. So it's like, okay, well, listen, maybe you don't know the long term security on that, but at least you know he's back to a good movement or a bad movement. He's still in progress, right? Like you get to see it. There's some security in that, but
I do think it's unfortunate with Johnson and him missing so much time and being hurt and stuff. More concerned with the Morrison injury, but I mean, he would be. I think he would be quite good if he didn't have that injury this year.
yeah,
My line on him would be pretty high.
yep. I would have him
He
as a
had a
first
healthy
round
season.
lock if it wasn't for a hip injury. So
Yeah, I think more like not half. But
yeah,
alrighty, anything else you had?
that was all of it. So I'll get this video edited up and posted, and we will have a little bit of a debate here tonight about who we think's gonna go where, not really much of a day. I'm sure everybody's gonna just kind of either throw their over unders and not give any insight because they don't want to give away too much or whatever. But it's always fun. We did this last year, I believe, too, with AP. I think said some lines, so it's always fun to kind of guess on what we think's gonna happen. But yeah,
Alrighty.
thanks for
Well,
thanks for coming on.
good luck with your draft coming up. Good luck with the car situation. And yeah,
Yeah, thank
we
you.
need you there all
Thank
day
you.
for the draft. So get that figured out.
Listen, I'm driving to Nebraska. Hopefully, all is well, and we get a car, and then I'm locked in for the weekend. That's the plan.
All right. Well, I'll be locked in at about a 1 a.m. Uh, we'll see if I fall asleep after I make my first round pick here. But I'm hoping to stay up as late as I can. Maybe take a peek at some trade back up situations. So we'll see.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you again for coming on. Best of luck in the draft, and that goes to all of you, I guess, listening. And yeah, 2 days away or one day away now, in time this is announced. Whatever. Peace.